I think we're okay. Hello, good afternoon, Dr. Winslow. How are you doing, Doc?
I'm doing well. Thank you, Prem.
Thank you for joining us today on our weekly Facebook Live conversations. It has been quite interesting over the last few weeks, Doc. We have had a few professionals join us, and we have discussed some topics basically in regards to mental health, wellness, the current pandemic situation, and how it has affected people. So, thank you for joining us this afternoon. How's the weather like in Singapore today?
Cloudy.
Okay, it's quite bright and sunny here in Sabah.
I had to look out the window. Yes, cloudy.
Okay. So, Dr. Winter, the topic for today is about hitting rock bottom, and why is it that we have this thinking about people have to hit rock bottom before they actually come out and start asking for help. You've been working in psychiatry for the longest time, Dr. Winslow. Why is it that people have this thought about rock bottom? What's this about?
Okay. 2 points. First, I've been working in psychiatry for the longest time means you're trying to tell me I'm old, okay? But second is rock bottom is a term where we talk about people having to hit some base before they decide that it's time to change their lives, time to get well, time to take action. And we've always heard also that it is kind of difficult because some people's bottoms are really low, and they've also heard the familiar phrase that if you want to get well and you are in a hole, the aim is to stop digging. And unfortunately, some people continue trying to find whether their bottom is there. And I just saw somebody today as well who it's sad because some people think that the mindset is that he told me basically that, I don't think I can really be happy in life without using drugs or without using substances. So I'm not too sure about this recovery, and I'm not too sure. Yes, part of me wants to get well, but a mindset is that I can't be happy or well without some substance. And that's a delusional thought that comes to many people with substance use or addictions, because they think that they can't be really fulfilled, happy, enjoying life to its fullest without the use of some substance or other. And yet all the evidence would point to the opposite. And the key is that sometimes it takes a bit of time, because the first phase of recovery or in early recovery, it takes a while before a person starts to lose all the effects of the substance use and start to be stable enough to enjoy things. Like in my group last week, I realized one of them was saying that, I don't know whether I'm really happy, but it's now 8 months without a substance, and I'm actually feeling a lot calmer because I don't have to constantly think about where to get stuff from, chase after the high, and I can concentrate on other things which are important, like my career or my family.
So that obsession is slowly lifted, and it's taken this person 8 months, huh?
Yeah, usually it takes at least 3 or about a few months. And that's one of the reasons why a lot of treatment programs these days move beyond the traditional 28 days and move towards 6 weeks or 90-day programs. Basically, so that you have enough clean time and your connections in your brain are working better. You're starting to be able to understand why things happen the way that they do, able to identify the crazy thinking or stinking thinking in recovery lingo, or all the other things that are happening to their lives.
So is this one of the reasons why then people tend to think they need to hit rock bottom before they actually realize that things are not as fantastic as it is when you're using or when you're drinking or drugging.
You have to reach a point, and whether it is really rock bottom or not, you have to reach a point when you decided that I'm sick and tired of living like this. I'm sick and tired of living this life. I need to change. I want a different life. And if you're sick and tired of that life, then the way to get a new life or to get a better life would be to actually stop the substance or the addiction, because it's not only the substance. I've seen people who stop using a drug, but for some strange reason insist that they have to keep injecting themselves and pulling out blood or doing other strange things. And that obsession with the process as well as the actual substance
Right.
can really mess up your life.
Right. So that obsession in the process is another thing. Yeah, I understand what you mean. Okay. Well, sometimes now, Dr. Winslow, in the current situation where there's lockdown in Singapore and then there's this movement control order in Malaysia, where basically the whole world is going through this. When I was discussing with other experts, we were wondering this may be the best time to actually take action if you have an addiction problem, right? Because why do you want to wait to hit rock bottom when now you have all the time in the world to go out and get treated? So, what are your thoughts on that?
I think it's logical, but you see, it's logical because we have clean minds. I think we have clean minds. Or at least we are not in the foggy state that a lot of people who are using are. And unfortunately, a lot of people who are still using, they find it difficult to make that connection that I might as well use this time to maintain or actually establish my sobriety. And there are some impediments or some problems with that, because when you're using and you're still chasing after a high or chasing after the numbing effect, so I don't feel my bad feelings or my bad thoughts or my traumatic thoughts, the continuation of that using process seems very attractive. Unfortunately, it is not all that good, because we know that you could actually be a lot better in life without it. It goes two ways. One, I see people coming in and saying, look, I'm locked down, I'm working from home, nobody at work knows whether I'm at work or not. I can just carry my laptop and can you admit me to hospital to detox, and I can still do work from the hospital. And they're fine. And in fact, right now, this morning, I saw another person, the same thing. We can see them, they can actually detox pretty well and still maintain their work and stuff and be in a safe place. And then there are others, because all the features that cause them to become addicted are there. Their loneliness, the isolation, being at home without anybody, or sometimes one person called me to tell me, this is crazy. How do you expect me to stay clean when the cause of all my using, my mother is still there every day with me?
Right.
Nothing against mothers, mind you, but for that lady, it was very, very real that she found it really difficult to be locked up with the person who she saw as the traumatic,
the trigger for her,
the trauma trigger. Yes.
Okay.
So it can go both ways, as you can see, and basically the person has to make a choice. And it's been quite tragic, because, as you know, when people use, a lot of the time they get away with it, but we've seen a few of them where they have lapsed to using either alcohol or substances, and it's become too much, and then they decide to end their life or do things like that. And this is the tragic reality, because we've seen that in the US, in doctors in the emergency room, when they see all the trauma and the suffering, and they can't take it. We see that even now when the world is a little bit of a crazy place, because when you read and watch the news, sometimes we have difficulty trying to focus on what is real news and what is
correct.
Fake news.
Yeah.
And So it's not that simple or that easy, but people with addictions are at risk. I think at risk for two reasons. One, they already have the addiction, and the second, they also have um, the mental health overlay that comes with addictions. You know, when you have an addiction, you tend to lose a lot. You lose self-respect, you
Of
lose
course.
self-esteem, you lose all those things, and so we know that there's a huge amount of comorbidity or low. I mean, mental health issues go together. A large number of people have anxiety issues, have depressive issues, and some people even have psychotic issues. I got a email from one of my clients yesterday, and I had to read it twice, and I still didn't understand it.
Okay, well, at least the client is emailing you then.
It was a bit of worry. I had to call him and say, please come in so that we can discuss your email.
Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah, I
say
can.
discuss your email, which I cannot understand, and you're probably using. It'd be nice to take a look at what's happening.
Yeah, but at least he has reached out. I suppose that's the good thing, isn't it? That he's reaching
Yes.
out for help. Yeah.
So that's the other thing in this COVID period. You can actually reach out. You can actually have so many resources that you can make use of. And I've seen my clients and other people, they've discovered that they are worried about anonymity in Singapore because they are high flyers in Singapore. They suddenly can attend hundreds of meetings in Los Angeles or in London or in Scotland, if you can understand what they're saying, and other parts of the world. And you can maintain your anonymity and actually benefit from people who have been in sobriety for a long time.
Right. But thank God for technology and online meetings and Zoom and things like that. Yeah.
Just imagine, 10 years ago, we'd be all looking at our small Nokia phones and wondering what to do.
Yes. Well, even I think connecting between you and me would have taken a year to be able to sit down like this and have a discussion. You're always so busy and you're around the world.
Yes.
No, but coming back to that, Dr. Winslow, it's very interesting because I do a lot of work with families, and often we hear the families saying things like, "Oh, he doesn't want to go, or she doesn't want to go," and treatment has to be voluntary before it works. If it's not voluntary, it'll never work. I don't know whether this is a fact. Does treatment really have to be voluntary? How can you expect a patient who's psychotic and high on drugs to voluntarily seek treatment when he may never know he needs treatment, right? He may never even realize that he needs help.
I think under the NIDA's 13 features of people recovery, treatment does not have to be voluntary to work.
Exactly.
And we know that as long as you can get into treatment and stay in treatment long enough, I mean, the two key features are getting into treatment and maintaining or staying in treatment long enough so that you can allow all the crazy thinking to go away, to learn to process things better, allow some of the reality checks on our lives to come in, because to develop an addiction, you actually have to start to learn to fool yourself or keep secrets from other people. Sometimes it's strange, but I see some people that kept secrets so long that they no longer know what the truth is.
What the reality is, yes, of course.
That's right.
I sometimes say that mandated treatment is still better than no treatment at all, right?
Definitely.
And thank you for agreeing, because I've often been challenged when I say that, how can treatment work when it's involuntary? I think you can never wait for someone who's psychotic to understand he's got a psychosis or ask for help. So in that case, you don't really have to hit a rock bottom before the person get into treatment, right? Wouldn't you think so?
No, definitely not. Sometimes other people have to recognize that it's a bottom, recognize that we need to intervene, or that's the reason why people do interventions. And that's why you have programs in the US called, I think, intervention.
Intervention is,
it's the intervention.
Correct.
And in our part of the world, it's a little bit more difficult because families tend to be a lot more protective of themselves, and they cover up for whichever individual has the addiction a lot closer. A lot of it seems in this part of the world to be a loss of face. How would we be able to show ourselves if other people know that we have this problem? And that's what they fail to realize, that the strongest people and the most happy people are the ones who are able to actually talk authentically and transparently about what strengths or what weaknesses or what they're going through with.
Well, I think we've been talking about codependency for a very long time in Southeast Asia. It has been a topic of almost any conference we have here. And of course, now we have pro-dependency as well, which is another big topic. But in Southeast Asia, you're right, Doc, that concept of face, losing face, shame, secrets, it seems to be a big problem. I wonder whether things will change with the new norm. That'll be interesting.
I think the new norm has got some advantages. We can go two ways depending on how we look at the new norm. The new norm has given me enough time to spend more time with my family, more time with my wife. It's allowed me to spend more time with exercise and looking after what's important, less time on traveling and running all over the place. It's allowed me to actually start keeping a journal and writing in it, and spending a bit more time to think about what is important, what is going to be important in life when I finish, or when we finally come out of this period. And that's part of the challenges that we are going to face. On the other hand, those with mental health challenges also go through, as you know, what we mentioned earlier, the loneliness and the other things. And the key then is learning how to look for resources, find structure, put a structure in place for the periods when we are locked down or when we are restricted from moving. And with a structure in place, it makes life a lot more stable. So you don't have to worry about, let's say, I will, even though I don't have anything to do, I will still wake up by 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock or whatever time they want. Well, when I wake up, I will do my ablutions. I will make sure that I go and do whatever I need to, brush teeth and everything else. I will have a light breakfast. Then I will go and do my exercise, or it can be in whichever order you want to, but having things in place and then saying that, okay, between this time and this time, I have allocated it for, let's say, learning a new language or meeting up with my friends online. In Singapore, I realized that one of the organizations, Salt Care, and quite a number of the mental health organizations actually have open rooms where they have daily check-in. And I've noticed in one of them, literally every day they are at lunchtime, at noon, there are 10 to 20 people who will always check in. And it helps because then if I'm not feeling good about the day, I can share it. I can get encouragement from other people. And it's a short check-in, so it's only about 15 minutes, 20 minutes. And if the person needs help, there are befrienders and other resources available to pick up on that.
Oh, that's very interesting. This is an online program, is it?
It's an online program. Everything has moved online because it used to be we used to have lunchtime meetings and afternoon meetings for patients with depression, and it's led by peers. So it is a peer-driven depression groups, for example, under Salt Care. And they used to have really large numbers of people coming for it. But when the lockdown happened or the circuit breaker in Singapore happened, a lot more people, they decided that they needed to take care of each other. And so they decided, the peers themselves decided to have once a day check-in at 12 noon. And whoever had problems could just voice it up. We had backup in that there were professional counselors on standby or available. But between the person presenting with the problem and real counseling or psychotherapy, there was just peer-driven or peers who had gone through support courses to learn how to support each other.
That's very nice. It's like a self-support group, huh?
It's a self-support group, and I think
Mm,
this is something that would also work with clients with addictions, because
mm,
of course the major worry in addiction groups is that all it takes is one person to be a
yeah,
little less than clean, and
yeah.
that person is going to try and I
Persuade.
think you know how it works in real groups and real life too.
Yeah,
If one person is not doing too well, I don't want to feel bad about myself, so let's see if I can get somebody else to be worse than me.
yeah, yeah. That's how it works with addictions, isn't it? The
Yes.
personality, addictive personality, people are like that. Um, okay. Talking a little bit about the new norm, Dr. Winslow, I am quite curious about how people will be. You said even for yourself now you have, you start looking at yourself, you start setting goals, you even write a journal, and journal writing is something we preach to all our clients and patients, right? And now, in fact, I'm also doing it actually. I've got such a routine now that the last 6 weeks have been so busy at home. I've never been so busy before. It's quite interesting, actually. Lots of self-reflection and stuff. So, what about other people, right? What about people out there who are going through the same kind of circuit breaker or lockdown? Wouldn't they have developed a structure as well? And wouldn't this mean that people become more resilient with the new norm?
I think the difficult part is that not everybody who's faced with tough times becomes
Mm,
more resilient. Some people are
okay.
living very close to the edge of coping or not coping with life. And
Mm,
for those people, they actually need some support or some help or befriending or uh, s- somebody to come in and help them with structure
of
and
course, of course.
maintaining things in their life. But yes, you're right that the new norm may actually. Uh, there's lots of talk in the past that people were basically sleepwalking through life. You just
Mm,
go every day, doing this, doing that, doing many things, and
mm,
really not reflecting on why am I doing these things, what is the
correct.
purpose of
Correct.
life, what do I want to see. uh,
Correct.
and we've seen that as a doctor. I've seen that many times. I worked once in a cancer ward, and there are so many people at the end of their life. uh, the main thing that they all think about is, I wish I'd spent more time with my son or daughter. I wish I'd
Right.
spent more time with my school friends. Never seen anybody come in and say, I wish I spent more time at work yet. But
Right. Okay.
yeah,
Actually, you're right. In fact, you have asked me this many times. What are you chasing? What are you trying to achieve? What are you trying to do? And
yeah,
I don't actually remember a time when I've sat down and thought about it at all. But now, with time in hand, it has been very interesting. I personally, for me, I've done a lot of self-reflection, and w- I ask myself, what am I trying to achieve? And I'm like, I really don't know the answer. I never knew what I wanted, but I guess now it has helped me set some goals, lah. You know,
yeah.
personal goals for myself, and definitely family is the top of the list.
That's
I
right.
must say.
And so then it gives us time to actually sit down, because think about it, if not for this literally a circuit breaker or a timeout for us to be able to reflect on why are we rushing about, is the most important thing in life earning money? And I think a lot of people are going to question that. A lot of people are
Mm,
going to look at even governments and ask,
mm,
the most important thing for most governments is, do we have economic growth?
yeah,
And
yeah,
yet we have a few countries like New Zealand, where the
mm,
prime minister has articulated that we need to look at other things as indicators of well-being and
yeah,
indicators of whether we are actually looking after each other, being there for each other, making
yeah,
sure that the weaker members of our society are taken care of. And I think
yeah,
that becomes very important. It's the same issue that I've had. I have people who own banks coming to see me, and they are just as
mm,
miserable as anybody else. So it's not about money, but it's
mm,
about whether or not you can actually, um, do you have values? Do you have purpose
mm,
for which you're going to peg your life to?
mm, mm,
And that applies whether it's a mental health challenge, whether it's
mm,
depression or anxiety uh, or an addiction.
mm,
What is my life purpose? And the people
mm,
who chase and they say my life purpose is to be happy, usually don't get there. The people who do get happy are the ones who say that, okay, I've decided that I am going to look after this group of people as I get older. I want to serve in my community as a community volunteer, looking after the people who don't have enough, or the elderly who still have to work at 70, 80 years old, uh, and make sure that they are okay. And those things where you have a purpose and you're able to carry it out, then it actually leads to a lot more uh, endorphins, all the happy hormones being produced in your brain. And I think at the time when it comes for us to leave this world, we will be in a lot better place too.
That's almost like what they say in recovery, right? In order to
Yeah.
keep what you have to give it away, right? Yeah.
Yes.
You
And
gotta give.
learning that, it's not about keeping all the things for yourself. Sometimes, hey, I get a lot more happiness when we're able to share resources, or share our uh, sometimes share our belongings, or uh, share what we have with other people. And for example, during this lockdown, there were tons of people who didn't have as many support staff as I had in our clinic, and the ability to share with my other doctors and nurses, neighboring
Wow.
clinics, for example, who are the best couriers or cheapest couriers to be able to, you see somebody on Zoom to take the medicines to the person's home,
Right.
or things like that. And it actually does give it. And I realized that it works both ways, because when I was sharing what resources we have, then everybody starts sharing a bit more. And they
Correct.
start sharing. It's like playing it forward. They start sharing with me, okay, we know that we have to continue our medical registration. We have to achieve 50 hours of training. Here are 10 articles which I have done, and these are the ones you might want to use them, because I've downloaded them, I've paid for and downloaded them, so you can share
Right.
them. So
Right.
it is a process where we start to think more about uh, not only ourselves, because that would
Yes.
be egocentric and selfish, but
Right.
start to think about others. How can we help them? And we know that that works, because even the person with the addiction gets better when they stop thinking about themselves so much and start
Yes.
thinking
Yes.
about, okay, what is it that I want
Yes.
to do or be of benefit to my family or to my community or the people around me. And that works in 12-step programs, AA, the people who seem to have the best recovery are those who do service.
Correct. Correct. Yeah.
Because when you're serving, or when you're actually sharing of your resources, your strength, your help, uh, you get back. It's not seen, but you get back a lot.
Of course. That's what they mean by you got to give it away to keep it, right?
That's right.
No, I like this topic. I know we have moved from the rock bottom topic to sharing, but it's very interesting, because yesterday or 2 days ago I was asked to give my views about sharing resources, exactly what we were just talking about, and I was saying, now during this difficult period in Malaysia, there are so many rehabs in Malaysia. We have so many rehabs, right? And economically, it's difficult because people can't admit for treatment. Not all rehabs have the resources, and not all rehabs are able to function without the help from the government, and there's not much financial help. So what I was saying is that maybe this is the best time to sit down and share resources. Rehabs come together, and those who have what they can afford to give away, to give it away and share it with them. And in fact, some rehabs, I'm saying, if you guys can't function, you really have financial issues, merge, join together, cut down your operating costs, bring your resources lower down your costs, and you can even afford to give a lower treatment fee, which means more people will benefit. And this
That's
was my view, actually.
mm,
I'm glad you mentioned that, because I think sharing is definitely the way to move forward now, Doc.
yep.
Um, and look at human beings. Now we've become so altruistic. Suddenly we're seeing groups of people popping up all over the country, cooking, giving food,
That's
packing
right.
right? Packing and giving away food is amazing. It's
Yes.
very encouraging. Um, there have always been people who are doing the wrong things. You know, this has been there from prehistoric periods. There have been thieves, or there have been people who are doing wrong things. But people who are doing the right things are now popping up. People who are actually altruistic. The groups of people who are coming up and actually helping out, which I
Yeah.
think could be. I'm looking at that as a new norm, Doc. I'm hoping that will be the new norm for all of us.
I think you actually have to
And not.
practice. You have to practice that. If not, the new norm will disappear out the window. And so during this lockdown period, if you don't practice sharing and caring and giving, then when we come out of lockdown, it's unlikely to be there as well.
Mm. So
But
it,
that's
it
where we
took
are.
the world a crisis for a reset button, eh?
Yeah, the skies are a lot clearer.
Yes, yes. I can see Mount Kinabalu from my house now, even later in the morning. Before it had to be 7, 8 a.m. Now I can see it at 11 also. Can see the peak of Mount Kinabalu.
Yes, people in India can see the Himalayas now.
Himalayas, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
all the way through 100 miles into Nepal, they can see the mountaintops.
Yeah,
In
okay.
Venice, they can actually see the dolphins and fish come back.
Yes, yes, yes. The dolphins. Okay.
I'm just
Um,
wishing that we can see all the fish now. Unfortunately, the rules haven't changed. They still don't allow us to catch them.
yeah. No, I think well in Malaysia now they're relaxing it a little bit. We're moved into the next phase where the MCO, I mean the movement control order is getting a bit more relaxed. People are beginning to move out. Certain states are already functioning. Some of the people are going back to work, so things
Yeah.
are starting to get back to normal. Okay. Uh, maybe as a final discussion, Dr. Winslow, can we touch a little bit about the future for mental health professionals, for people like us who are working in the industry? What would you expect, or what would your advice be for people like us in the industry? What do we prepare for? How do we prepare?
I
Is
think
there anything
collaboration.
specific?
I think preparation by reducing costs and a lot of costs. I'm realizing that I don't really need. I have 4 clinic spaces, and I'm paying
Mm.
huge amounts of rent. I don't really need all of them. Unfortunately,
Mm.
we are tied into contracts for quite a while.
Yeah,
But I
yeah,
think we can do it. There'll be more people learning to work from home, more resources that can actually engage from home, and this coming out
yeah.
to meet when we really need to, or for the
Right.
the actual community or organization. Um, there'll be a lot more collaborations and sharing of resources. There's no reason if our aim, if people are going to start examining what are the aims or what are their goals. If the goal is to help as many people as possible get well. And of course, mind you, I know in the industry, whether it's mental health or addictions or whatever, the companies have to at least cover their costs or uh, make their
Mm.
margins so that they can continue to exist, and that applies
Yes,
to everybody. As long as you can do that
yes.
and you can reach out to more people, uh, it's great. And I think I will see.
Mm.
I think that we will see a lot more collaborative efforts between national programs, countries, and things like
Mm.
that. Mm.
Mm.
In Singapore, we've noticed that when there was a need among the foreign worker community, it's amazing that how many even of my staff were all volunteering to do mental health, voluntary after hours mental health treatment or weekends for people who speak Bengali or Tamil in
Oh.
the dormitories. And
Mm.
so a lot more would be community actions where we share the resources that we have.
Mm.
And it's not
Okay.
all purely for the generation of capital for the mega
Mm.
wealthy.
Mm.
Yeah.
I must agree with you that the way forward is sharing resources and sharing expertise, because people will need more expertise. The globe is becoming smaller,
That's right.
boundaries are disappearing, right?
Yes.
And we are all meeting and talking to each other more often than we ever used to before, because of, well, digital technology as well. So I think even moving forward, technology will be an asset for us when it comes to treatment. Also, we need to familiarize ourselves with technology, all the latest programs, all the latest softwares, right? Um,
Yes.
Telemedicine. What do you think about telemedicine, Dr. Winslow? How popular is it, or how good is it? Will people trust telemedicine?
I think telemedicine will be trusted in as far as the people on the telemedicine platforms are
Uh,
trusted, and it would help
okay.
because suddenly instead of having to fly all the way from, let's say, Bangladesh or from
Correct.
around the world to go and get treatment, I can sit, and I do it now so regularly. I have patients checking in from Hong Kong or Shanghai or
Mm,
other parts of the world, and they don't
mm,
actually have to be there in front of me. But again, it goes back to collaborations, because not only do you need to have the ability to see and do maybe a second opinion, but you also do need to have people on the ground where if there is urgent need, you can see somebody on the spot, or you can get your medicines delivered. So the world will
mm,
become, the people who will come out stronger would be the ones who are able to collaborate, build bridges, build
right.
communities of recovery resources.
Right. Okay. Okay. Well, Solace has started doing some online virtual programs as well, and we are doing pretty much what you just said. Actually, we just started anyway, where we
Great.
go and do home services. Yeah, delivering the medication, going to the house and doing a urine test or drug test. Yeah, we just it started that. I'm curious to see how it's going to kick off.
For a moment, I thought you were going to say virtual urine, but okay.
No, no. Well, I wouldn't be surprised if they have that soon too, Doc. It's a matter of time where you can do a urine test at home and we'll see the results here.
True.
Yeah.
There are a lot of
Okay.
things happening now that we would never have thought of. Or we can take those
Correct.
who have hair, we'll take one hair and put it into the computer, and it'll tell you whether you have been using or not.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay. Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Winslow. It was a very interesting afternoon. Very nice 35 minutes spent with you. I'm sorry we
Nice
took
to
up more
meet
time. I told you 30 minutes.
No worries. It's
uh,
been great. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doc. And I see some questions coming in. I will answer them if I can. And then anything I need to refer to you, I'll refer them to you. I'll email them to you, Dr. Winslow.
Sure. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Doc. And you have a good afternoon. Stay safe and stay well.
You
Bye
too.
bye.
Take care. Bye bye.
Bye.